Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Will Dupree here in the KXAN live studio in Austin. However, as you're seeing next to me, we're seeing that Air Force One has now landed in Harlingen in South Texas, carrying President Trump. The president will disembark from the plane there and then head to Alamo, Texas for an event at the border wall. He's going to be discussing border wall construction in that community. But as you can see, Air Force One just touching down about 5 minutes ago there in Harlingen at the Harlingen Valley International Airport. We now wait for President Trump to come off the plane. This event today in Alamo, Texas, again, that's where he's going to be speaking, is the first public appearance since those riots happened at Capitol Hill last week. The president did address that here just a few moments ago, or earlier today, I should say. He addressed reporters about that particular issue, but I'll play some sound from that here in just a moment as soon as we see the president. There you go, the stairs being taken over to the plane so that the president can leave in just a moment. Again, you're looking live right now in Harlingen, where Air Force One has touched down. President Trump will get off the plane. He will then board Marine One, that helicopter you see him travel in so often. It will then fly him to Alamo, Texas, where he'll speak at an event marking construction of the border wall, and we will carry those remarks. He is supposed to speak at about 2 o'clock, so we will have another stream for you all to watch his remarks from Alamo, Texas. Again, speaking about the border wall and its construction. As we await for the president to leave Air Force One and then board Marine One to head to Alamo, I do want to point out that there is a lot of reaction pouring in from other lawmakers, including the Texas Democratic Party. They sent out a statement late last night about President Trump's visit to Texas. And if you take a look right here, this is what the party chair said. He said, Donald Trump started his campaign with hate-filled rhetoric about Mexicans, and his time in power will end as he highlights the most divisive symbol of his presidency, a wall that tears apart our border communities. In a week where we've seen the dangers of Trumpism and Trump's incendiary rhetoric, Donald Trump is going back to his most dangerous and hate-filled playbook. This statement again coming from the Texas Democratic Party chair, Gilberto Hinojosa. And now let's bring back up this image. The stairs have now been pushed up to the side of Air Force One, and we wait for President Trump to leave the plane there, come down the stairs, and then he will board Marine One to head to Alamo, Texas. Let's leave up this image as we are still awaiting President Trump to disembark from Air Force One. We are now waiting for a different view since President Trump has now gotten off Air Force One and walked over to an area where dozens of his supporters have now gathered at the Harlingen airport to be able to see him. He will next board Marine One to head over to Alamo, Texas, to talk about border wall construction. Again, we're just trying to get a better view from our camera crew there in Harlingen at the airport, trying to reset the shot there so that we can see the president before he boards Marine One. Right now, again, he is greeting some supporters, and it appears he has now gotten into an SUV there with some of the Secret Service members escorting him over there to the vehicle. Bear with us for just a moment. Again, these are live pictures from Harlingen, Texas, where President Trump has now landed on Air Force One. Oh, there you go. He's getting onto Marine One here shortly. This will carry him again to Alamo, Texas, where an event has been set up so that he can address border wall construction. Let's go back to these live images there in Harlingen. We may see Marine One take off here just shortly, followed by several other aircraft that will accompany the presidential fleet flying to Alamo, Texas. And there you go. Marine One is now lifted off from the airport there in Harlingen, headed to Alamo, Texas. And there you have it. We saw the landing of Air Force One, followed by President Trump leaving the plane, going to greet some of the supporters who were gathered there behind those barricades. Then he got on to Marine One to now head to Alamo, Texas. He is going to speak there at the site of border wall construction to tout that particular project. We should note, though, this is the first public appearance for the president since those riots last week at Capitol Hill that resulted in 5 people's deaths. A lot of pushback is happening from lawmakers and other officials here in the community. And there you see the live signal has gone down, so we'll remove that really quickly. But I want to point out, because we have not yet heard from the president publicly regarding those particular riots from that pro-Trump mob that stormed the Capitol last week, the president did address reporters earlier today before he headed to Texas. Outside the White House and at Air Force One. He was boarding the plane just before that. He spoke to reporters, and I want to play one particular soundbite before he headed to Texas, so take a listen.
What is your role in what happened at the Capitol? What is your personal responsibility?
So if you read my speech, and many people have done it, and I've seen it both in the papers and in the media, on television, it's been analyzed, and people thought that what I said was totally appropriate. And if you look at what other people have said, politicians at a high level, about the riots during the summer, the horrible riots in Portland and Seattle and various other places, that was a real problem, what they said. But they've analyzed my speech and my words and my final paragraph, my final sentence, and everybody to the T thought it was totally appropriate.
Again, those comments coming from President Trump just before he boarded Air Force One to head to Texas. He said that his comments ahead of that particular riot were, quote, totally appropriate. Other lawmakers would disagree. There has been many calls for him to be removed or resign or possibly even be impeached. The House Democrats will likely introduce their article of impeachment tomorrow. Today, the House was considering a resolution to call for Vice President Mike Pence to invoke the 25th Amendment to try to remove President Trump after the riots, but that appears likely to fail today. So the House will be taking up the impeachment article, which, according to the reporting, is that the charge would be for incitement of insurrection, and that will be considered tomorrow. So we, of course, will be following that along. So if you're just joining us, I'm Will Dupree here in the KXAN live studio. We've seen President Trump land here in Texas now. Coming up at about 2 o'clock, President Trump is set to speak in Alamo, Texas. Again, he's going to be addressing border wall construction. That's the plan, at least. I will pull up a tweet so that you all can see from our reporter at Border Report. If you take a look here, she tweeted a little bit earlier today that she's going to be covering Trump's visit to the Rio Grande Valley at the border wall, and there you can see that a podium has been set up. They were working on the particular stage, but there are some flags posted there, as well as heavy equipment and machinery, and then the border wall there in the background from where President Trump will be speaking a little bit later in just about 45 minutes or so. So he'll have that helicopter ride from Harlingen to Alamo, Texas to address these remarks. one other thing that I wanted to point out to you all is that the city of Alamo, Texas, posted this tweet late last night. It said the City of Alamo's City Commission and City Administration has not been officially contacted regarding this visit and therefore has no details regarding his itinerary, meaning the president's. And in this particular letter sent out by the city manager, Robert Salinas, he says that the City of Alamo's City Commission and City Administration has not been officially contacted regarding this visit. He also goes on to say, regarding any potential protests or support for the president, we ask that all demonstrations are peaceful and respectful towards our law enforcement personnel and our surrounding communities. That letter again from the city manager in Alamo, Texas, where President Trump is set to speak shortly. We have seen reporting on social media in particular about reporters who are gathered there near the speaking site. There are people who are supporting President Trump and those advocating against him set up just outside the event or very close by. There were some pictures from a distance in one particular case, so we'll monitor that situation as well. But you can join us here in just about 45 minutes. We'll launch another stream to carry President Trump's remarks at the border wall in Alamo, Texas. This, of course, is again his first public appearance since the Capitol Hill riots that resulted in several deaths and a lot of violence and destruction at that particular building. So thank you all again for joining us here in our stream. I'm Will Dupree here in the KXAN live studio. We'll see you back here in just a little while, so please stay with us and take care.